My sister-in-law destroyed my dying mother's last gift to me, so I exposed her secret that ruined her perfect image. My brother Tom and I used to be thick as thieves. Even after he married Sarah 5 years ago, we still grabbed beers every Friday and complained about our fantasy football teams. But everything changed when Mom got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer last year. I moved back home to help while Tom stayed an hour away with Princess Sarah, and she made her feelings known from day one. According to her, I was being way too dramatic about the whole dying mother situation. When I suggested Tom and I rotate overnight hospital stays, she rolled her eyes and told him I was trying to monopolize Mom's final days, like I was hoarding a dying woman. Tom, ever the doormat, just nodded and said I was being too emotional. That our mother, who could barely lift a spoon, needed space. But I bit my tongue because the last thing Mom needed was us fighting. So I stayed, every night. I brought her those little butterscotch puddings she liked and read her romance novels she pretended were just fiction. Sarah popped in maybe once a week, scrolling through Instagram in the corner. Tom came more often, but Sarah always had an emergency. Her mom needed groceries. Her friend was in crisis. The dog looked sad. Nurses started calling me the good son, which made me uncomfortable, but they weren't wrong. Mom passed away while holding my hand. She'd been slipping in and out, but right before the end, she pressed her wedding ring into my palm, the thin gold band Dad had saved for back in '71. She whispered she wanted me to have it, to remember that love lasts forever. I ugly cried right there in front of the hospice nurse. When I called Tom, Sarah answered his phone, said, "Oh, that's sad," and added they'd come by later to handle the arrangements. Like our mom was a package. The will was simple. The house got sold and split, and we each got some keepsakes. Then the lawyer read that Mom's ring was to go to me, Jacob, as a reminder of enduring love. I watched Sarah's face scrunch like she'd eaten a lemon. 2 days after the funeral, they ambushed me in my kitchen. Sarah launched into this speech about how, as the only daughter-in-law, the ring should go to her. Said it meant more to a married woman than a single guy who'd shove it in a drawer. I stayed calm, told her my mom gave it to me with her dying breath. That's when Hurricane Sarah hit. She screamed that I manipulated a dying woman, that I guilt-tripped her with all those hospital nights. Said I poisoned Mom against the real family, meaning her. Tom jumped in yelling I was stealing family heirlooms and being selfish. Like always. Always. Like I hadn't just spent 6 months in hospital chairs. I told them to leave. The next few days were icy. I was stuck at their place while we sorted Mom's things for the estate sale. I kept the ring in its blue velvet box on the guest dresser. Every morning, I looked at it and remembered her. That Friday, I went to grab it before heading to the cemetery. The box felt light. It was empty. I tore the room apart, then ran downstairs. Sarah was sipping coffee like nothing happened. I asked if she'd seen Mom's ring. She didn't even look up. Said number. I asked again. She offered pancakes. I blocked her path. "Where is my mother's ring, Sarah?" That's when the sobbing started. She confessed. She took it to get resized for her finger because she knew I'd realize she deserved it more. The jeweler tried to clean it. The old gold cracked. The ring was destroyed. She had the audacity to say I was selfish for keeping it locked away, that Mom would have wanted her memory shared. I couldn't speak. The ring Dad saved every penny for. The ring Mom wore for 53 years. The last thing she gave me. Gone because this woman decided it should be hers. I walked out. Tom blew up my phone. I ignored him. Drove straight to Mom's grave and sat there for hours in the rain. That night, I couldn't sleep. I went into Tom's office looking for insurance papers. Found credit card statements instead. Page after page. Designer bags, diamonds, spas, Botox. Thousands of dollars. For a year, Tom said his business was struggling, that he couldn't help with Mom's bills. I was draining my savings while Sarah was getting hot stone massages. I made copies of everything. The memorial was the next day at Mom's church. Sarah got up to give a speech about family values. Said Mom taught us to support each other. Watching her fake cry over a woman she barely visited broke me. I stood up, said I had something to share about family values. Mentioned the $47,000 in shopping sprees on Tom's business card. I read it out. $3,000 at Nordstrom the day Mom entered hospice. $1,500 at a day spa the week she died. $800 dinner while I fed Mom ice chips. Tom looked gutted. Sarah shrieked that I was making it up. I looked Tom in the eye and said, "Your business isn't failing because of the economy, it's your wife's shopping addiction." Then I walked out. My phone exploded with texts. I didn't read any. I drove back to Mom's grave and sat in silence. An hour later, Tom showed up. He looked like he'd aged 10 years. He stood there staring at the headstone. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "Jake," he said, "I need to tell you something about what else Sarah's been doing." He pulled out a manila envelope from his jacket, his hands shaking. "She's been taking out credit cards in my name. I found out yesterday when a collections agency called about a card I never opened. I watched him unfold paper after paper on the wet grass beside Mom's headstone. American Express, Visa, MasterCard, Discover. Each statement showed thousands in charges. Designer handbags, jewelry, luxury vacations we never knew about. The total made my stomach turn. Over $100,000. "Jake, I don't know what to do." Tom's voice cracked. "She's been doing this for years, since right after we got married." I grabbed one of the statements. A charge for $8,000 at Tiffany's dated 3 months ago, when Tom told me he couldn't afford to help with Mom's medication. Another for a weekend at a 5-star resort while I was sleeping in hospital chairs. "There's more," Tom continued, pulling out another document. "She's been stealing from my business partners too, forging my signature on checks, moving money around. They found out last week. They're threatening to press charges if I don't pay it all back." The rain picked up, soaking through the papers. Tom didn't seem to notice. He just kept talking, like a dam had burst. I confronted her this morning. She laughed, Jake. Actually, I laughed. Said I was too stupid to notice for 5 years, so why should she stop now? Then she told me if I tried to divorce her, she'd claim I was abusive. Said she had bruises from when I grabbed her arm last month to stop her from maxing out another card. I remembered that day. Tom had called me, panicking because Sarah was at Neiman Marcus trying to buy a $15,000 watch. He'd rushed there to stop her. Now she was weaponizing it. "I have divorce papers in the car," Tom said. "My lawyer drew them up this morning, but I need those credit card statements you found, for evidence. Can you get me copies?" I nodded, still processing everything. My brother looked broken, kneeling in the mud beside our mother's grave, finally seeing what Sarah really was. We drove back to Tom's house in separate cars. I went straight to his office to grab the statements I'd found. Tom headed upstairs to pack a bag, planning to stay at a hotel until things were sorted. That's when we heard Sarah's car in the driveway. She burst through the door like a tornado, mascara streaming down her face. "How dare you embarrass me at the memorial? You're going to pay for this, Jake." I ignored her, continuing to gather the papers. She stormed into the office and saw what I was doing. "Those are private. You can't take those." She lunged for the documents. Tom appeared in the doorway. "They're my credit card statements, Sarah. From my business account. The one you've been draining." Her face went white, then red. Then she smiled. That same cold smile from when she told me about Mom's ring. "Oh, Tommy, you really think you can divorce me? After everything I know about your little business dealings?" Tom froze. "What are you talking about?" Sarah pulled out her phone. "Remember that contract you had me witness last year? The one where you inflated the project costs? I have photos of everything. Every sketchy deal. Every corner you cut. One call to the IRS and your business is done." I looked at Tom. His face told me it was true. He'd been cutting corners to keep up with Sarah's spending. "You're blackmailing me?" Tom's voice was barely a whisper. "I'm protecting myself," Sarah said. "Drop the divorce and we go back to normal, or lose everything." She turned to me. "And you're going to publicly apologize for those lies at the memorial. Tell everyone you were grief-stricken and made it all up." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Not happening, Sarah." Her eyes narrowed. "Then I'll make sure everyone knows about your mom's medical bills. How you claimed her as a dependent on your taxes when Tom was also supporting her. That's fraud, Jake." My blood went cold. I had claimed Mom as a dependent, but only because I was paying for everything. Tom hadn't contributed a dime thanks to Sarah. "That's not fraud," I said. "I have receipts for every payment." "Do you?" "Because I have texts from Tom saying he was helping with bills." Fake texts are so easy to create these days. Tom stepped forward. "Sarah, stop. This is insane." She whirled on him. "Insane? You want to see insane? I'll destroy both of you. Every dirty secret, every mistake. I'll make sure everyone knows. Your business partners, your friends, everyone at that precious country club you love so much." That's when I noticed something. Sarah's purse was open, and inside I could see a small blue velvet box. The same box that had held Mom's ring. "Is that?" I started. Sarah followed my gaze and quickly closed her purse. "That's none of your business." But I'd already seen it. The box wasn't empty anymore. There was a ring inside. A gaudy, oversized diamond ring. Nothing like Mom's simple gold band. "You didn't take Mom's ring to get resized," I said slowly. You sold it. You sold it and bought yourself a new one." Sarah's face went pale. Tom looked between us, confused. "The jeweler didn't break it," I continued. "You pawned our mother's wedding ring, the ring our father saved for, the last thing she gave me." "You can't prove that," Sarah said, but her voice wavered. I pulled out my phone. "Actually, I can. See, I've been calling pawn shops all day. Found the one you used. They have security footage, Sarah. They have the receipt with your signature. It was a bluff. I hadn't called anyone." But Sarah didn't know that. She backed toward the door. "You're lying. The owner remembered you," I continued. "Said you seemed nervous. Kept asking if they could remove the engraving inside. Forever yours, Michael. Our dad's name." Sarah's hands were shaking now. Tom stared at her like he was seeing a stranger. "You sold Mom's ring?" Tom's voice was deadly quiet. "You told me it broke. You cried about it. You sold our mother's ring? It was just sitting there!" Sarah exploded. "A piece of junk jewelry worth nothing. I needed the money for what?" Tom demanded. "Another handbag? Another spa day?" Sarah's mask finally slipped completely. "For a lawyer, okay? I've been meeting with a divorce attorney for months, planning my exit strategy, making sure I get everything I deserve from this joke of a marriage." The room went silent. Tom sank into his desk chair. "You were planning to leave me?" he asked. "While spending all my money? While I was culling myself trying to keep the business afloat?" Sarah laughed, high and cruel. "Did you really think I loved you, Tom? You were a meal ticket. A boring, predictable meal ticket who was supposed to be rich by now. But you couldn't even do that right. I watched my brother crumble. 5 years of marriage reduced to this. A con game. Get out," Tom said quietly. "Gladly. But I'm taking half of everything. The house, the business, all of it. My lawyer says—" "Your lawyer doesn't know about the fraud charges you're facing," I interrupted. "Credit card fraud. Identity theft. Embezzlement from Tom's business partners. That's federal prison time, Sarah." She scoffed. "Tom won't press charges. He's too weak." Tom stood up slowly. "Jake, call the police." Sarah's bravado cracked. "You wouldn't dare." "I just did," Tom said. "I'm done being your doormat. I'm done watching you destroy everything our family built." Sarah grabbed her purse and ran for the door. "This isn't over. I'll ruin both of you." We heard her car peel out of the driveway. Tom collapsed back into his chair. "I'm sorry," he said. "For everything. For not believing you about Mom. For letting Sarah treat you like garbage. For being too blind to see what was happening." I sat down across from him. "We'll figure this out together." Tom nodded, then looked at the scattered credit card statements. $100,000. How did I not see it? "Because you loved her," I said. "And she used that against you." We spent the next hour organizing evidence. Tom called his lawyer, then his business partners to explain everything. I contacted the pawn shop and confirmed they did have Mom's ring. The owner agreed to hold it for me. As we worked, Tom's phone buzzed with text after text from Sarah. Threats, pleas, more threats. We ignored them all. Then she made her biggest mistake. She posted a video on social media. Tom's phone lit up with notifications from mutual friends, and my own started buzzing seconds later. We both watched in horror as Sarah, tears streaming perfectly down her face, told the world her version of events. "My husband and his brother are trying to destroy me," she sobbed into the camera. "They're making up lies about spending because they want to steal my inheritance from their mother. I love that woman like my own mom, and now they're using her death to attack me." The comments started pouring in immediately. People we'd known for years were taking her side, calling us monsters, saying we should be ashamed. Sarah had always been good at playing the victim, but this was next level. Tom's business partner, Marcus, called within minutes. "Tom, what the hell is going on? My wife just showed me this video. Is this true?" While Tom tried to explain, I watched Sarah's performance continue. She held up a photo of her and Mom from years ago, one of the few times she'd actually visited. "This was my mother-in-law, the sweetest woman who ever lived. And now her sons are dishonoring her memory by attacking me with these horrible accusations." My phone rang. It was my cousin Catherine from Mom's side of the family. "Jake, I just saw Sarah's video. How could you do this to her? After everything she's been through. Catherine, she's lying. She stole Mom's ring and she told us about that. How you refused to let her have any keepsakes from your mother. That's just cruel, Jake. I tried to explain, but Catherine had already made up her mind. This was Sarah's real talent, getting her story out first and making us look like the villains. Tom finished his call looking defeated. Marcus wants to meet tomorrow. He says if I can't prove Sarah's lying, he's pulling out of the partnership. We spent the rest of the night trying to do damage control, but Sarah had gotten too far ahead of us. By morning, she'd posted 3 more videos, each more dramatic than the last. In one, she claimed I'd threatened her. In another, she said Tom had been hiding money from her for years. The next day, I drove to the pawn shop to retrieve Mom's ring. The owner, a gruff man named Sebastian, recognized me immediately. You're the guy who called about the wedding ring, right? The one with the engraving? I nodded, relief washing over me. Finally, some proof. Yeah, I remember the woman who brought it in. Nervous, kept looking over her shoulder. But here's the thing, she never gave me her real name. Used a fake ID. My heart sank. But you have security footage, right? Sebastian shook his head. The camera's been broken for months. Been meaning to fix it. Sorry, kid. Without the footage or a receipt with Sarah's real name, I had no proof she'd sold the ring. I bought it back with what was left of my savings and drove home, feeling more defeated than ever. When I got back to Tom's house, I found him in the kitchen with a black eye. What happened? Sarah came by while you were gone. Said she wanted to talk things out. When I wouldn't let her in, she started screaming that I was attacking her. Then she hit herself in the face with her purse and called the police. Tell me you're kidding. I wish. The cops showed up, and she had marks on her face. If the neighbor hadn't been recording the whole thing on his doorbell camera, I'd be in jail right now. We pulled up the neighbor's footage on Tom's laptop. There was Sarah, clear as day, hitting herself with her purse before the police arrived. We saved multiple copies immediately. This is evidence of her lying, I said. We can use this. But Sarah was already 2 steps ahead. That afternoon, she posted another video claiming Tom had hired someone to doctor footage to make her look bad. She cried about how technology was being used to abuse women, how deep fakes were ruining innocent lives. The comments were full of support, people calling Tom a monster, saying he should be locked up. Tom's business partners called an emergency meeting. We brought all our evidence, the credit card statements, the doorbell footage, everything. But when we arrived at Marcus's office, Sarah was already there. I wanted to clear the air, she said sweetly. Show you all the truth about what's really happening. She had her own folder of documents, forged texts between Tom and me, planning to cut her out of everything. Fake bank statements showing Tom hiding money. Even a bogus medical report claiming she'd been treated for injuries Tom had given her. This is all fake, Tom protested, but Sarah just smiled sadly. This is what abusers do, she told the room. They call their victims liars. They try to isolate them, turn everyone against them. Marcus and the other partners looked uncomfortable. I could see them starting to doubt Tom. Wait, I said, pulling out my phone. I can prove she's lying. The pawn shop where she sold Mom's ring. What pawn shop? Sarah interrupted. I never sold any ring. Jake, I know you're upset about your mom, but making up stories won't bring her back. I have the ring right here. I bought it back. Sarah's eyes widened for just a second before she recovered. That's not your mother's ring. Jake bought that to try to frame me. Check the engraving. I bet it's fresh. My hands shook as I opened the box. The ring was there, but when I looked inside the band, my blood ran cold. The engraving was different. Instead of, "Forever yours, Michael," it now read, "Forever yours, Em." She had it re-engraved, I said weakly, but I could see the doubt in everyone's eyes. Sarah shook her head sadly. This is what grief does to people sometimes. Jake can't accept that his mother is gone, so he's creating elaborate conspiracies. He needs help, not enablement. The meeting ended with Marcus giving Tom an ultimatum. Get Sarah to drop everything, or lose the partnership. We left defeated. Back at Tom's house, we tried to figure out our next move. That's when Tom's phone rang. It was his credit card company. Mr. Williams, we're calling about some unusual activity on your account. Someone just tried to make a $50,000 cash advance at a casino in Atlantic City. Tom went white. I'm not in Atlantic City. Cancel that card immediately. But it was too late. Sarah had already maxed out 3 more cards we didn't even know existed. In the span of 2 hours, she'd taken another $200,000 in cash advances. She's bleeding me dry before the divorce, Tom said, his head in his hands. By the time this goes to court, there won't be anything left. I called the police to report the fraud, but they said without proof it wasn't Sarah. Their hands were tied. She'd been smart, using cards that were technically in Tom's name, even if he'd never applied for them. That night, we got our first real break. Tom's neighbor, the one with the doorbell camera, knocked on the door. I've been watching that woman's videos, he said. She's lying through her teeth. I've got more footage you need to see. He showed us weeks of recordings. Sarah coming and going at odd hours, meeting with different men in expensive cars. And most damning, her on the phone in the driveway, laughing about how stupid Tom was, how she'd take him for everything. I'll testify, the neighbor said. Whatever you need, that woman's evil. We thought we finally had her. But the next morning, the neighbor's house had been vandalized. Someone had spray-painted liar and abuser supporter all over his garage door. His car tires were slashed. I'm sorry, he told us, clearly shaken. I have kids. I can't get involved in this. Sarah's campaign continued. She started a GoFundMe, claiming she was a domestic violence survivor who needed help escaping her abusive husband and his enabling brother. People we'd never met were donating thousands of dollars, leaving comments about how brave she was. Tom's business officially collapsed when Marcus pulled out. His other partners followed suit, not wanting to be associated with the scandal. In less than a week, everything Tom had built over 10 years was gone. Maybe we should just give her what she wants, Tom said one night defeated. Let her have everything and walk away. No, I said firmly. Mom wouldn't want us to give up. Sarah doesn't get to win. But Sarah kept escalating. She filed a restraining order against both of us, claiming we were stalking her. We had to appear in court, where she put on another Oscar-worthy performance. The judge, clearly moved by her tears, granted the order. We couldn't go within 500 feet of her, which meant Tom couldn't even go to his own house. Then came the cruelest blow. Sarah posted a video holding Mom's cookbook, one of the few things Tom had wanted to keep. I found this in the trash, she lied to the camera. Can you believe they were throwing away their mother's recipes? Don't worry, Mom. I'll treasure this like you deserved. Tom broke down completely. That cookbook had all of Mom's handwritten notes, her little changes to recipes, her funny comments in the margins. It was irreplaceable. She's in my house with my things, destroying my life, and I can't do anything, Tom sobbed. Jake, I don't know how much more I can take. I held my brother as he cried, both of us sitting on the floor of the cheap motel room he was now calling home. Sarah had won every round so far, but I wasn't giving up. That's when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I know what Sarah's really up to. Meet me at the coffee shop on 5th Street tomorrow at noon. Come alone. I showed Tom the message. It could be a trap, he warned. Or it could be the break we need, I replied. The next day, I sat in the coffee shop, watching the door nervously. At exactly noon, a woman walked in. She was about Sarah's age, well-dressed but nervous looking. She sat down across from me. You're Jake, right? Tom's brother? I nodded cautiously. My name is Catherine. I was Sarah's best friend, until I found out what she really is. My heart started racing. What do you mean? Catherine pulled out her phone and showed me text messages, conversations between her and Sarah going back years. My eyes widened as I read. She's done this before, Catherine said quietly. 3 times. She finds men with family money or successful businesses, marries them, then destroys them in the divorce. Tom is her 4th victim. The messages were damning. Sarah bragging about her schemes, laughing about how easy it was to manipulate men, planning her moves like a chess game. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Catherine's eyes filled with tears. Because she's gone too far this time. The others were just money. But with Tom, she's enjoying the destruction. She's hurting you both because it's fun for her. When I saw her video with your mom's cookbook, laughing about it with her new boyfriend, I couldn't stay quiet anymore. New boyfriend? Catherine nodded. She's been seeing him for months. He's the one helping her forge all those documents. He works at a print shop, has access to all kinds of equipment. She gave me his name and address. Be careful though. He's got a record. Violence, theft, fraud. Sarah knows how to pick them. I thanked Catherine and immediately called Tom. We finally had a lead. That night, we did something we probably shouldn't have. We drove by the print shop after hours. Through the window, we could see Sarah's car parked in the back. Tom wanted to confront them, but I held him back. We need to be smart about this, I said. Let's document everything first. We took photos of her car at the shop, noted the time and date, then we waited. An hour later, Sarah and a man came out, carrying boxes of what looked like documents. Those must be more forged papers, Tom whispered. We followed them at a distance. They went to a storage unit across town. We watched them unload the boxes, then leave together in his car. We need to see what's in that storage unit, Tom said. We can't break in, I warned. That would make us criminals. But we didn't need to break in. The next day, I called the storage facility pretending to be interested in renting a unit. During the tour, I casually mentioned I'd seen someone there late at night. Oh, that's unusual, the manager said. We close at 9 p.m. No one should be here after that. I showed him the photos on my phone, being careful not to seem too interested. His face darkened. That's definitely after hours. We'll have to review our security footage and have a word with that tenant. I left, hoping we'd planted a seed. Sure enough, 2 days later, Tom got a call from his lawyer. The storage facility had contacted the police after finding suspicious documents in the unit, including forged bank statements, fake medical records, and templates for creating false text messages. But Sarah was already spinning the story. She claimed Tom had planted everything that he'd broken into her storage unit to frame her. Without direct evidence linking her to the forgeries, the police couldn't arrest her. Meanwhile, her GoFundMe had raised over $30,000. She was posting photos from expensive restaurants, claiming they were healing retreats for domestic violence survivors. Every dollar donated was funding her lifestyle while Tom ate ramen in a motel. The restraining order meant we couldn't even warn people about her. Any attempt to tell our side of the story would be seen as violating the order, potentially landing us in jail. Then Sarah made a mistake. She got greedy. I got a call from the pawn shop owner, Sebastian. That woman came back, he said. I tried to sell more jewelry. This time I was ready. He'd fixed his security camera and got clear footage of Sarah selling what she claimed were her own items. But Sebastian recognized one of the pieces, a distinctive watch he'd seen in the newspaper. It was stolen in a home robbery last month, he told me. I called the police. They're very interested in talking to your sister-in-law. Finally, we had something concrete. The police arrested Sarah for possession of stolen property. It wasn't for what she'd done to us, but it was a start. At her arraignment, Sarah played the victim again. She claimed her boyfriend had given her the jewelry, that she had no idea it was stolen. But the judge wasn't buying it this time, especially when the prosecutor mentioned she was already under investigation for fraud. Sarah was released on bail, but now she was scared. The facade was cracking. She started making mistakes, sending threatening texts to Tom despite the restraining order being mutual. She showed up at my apartment, violating the order herself. I recorded everything, every violation, every threat, every lie she posted online. Tom did the same. Our lawyers were building a case, slowly but surely. Then Catherine, Sarah's former friend, did something brave. She went public with what she knew. She posted her own video, showing the text messages, explaining Sarah's history of destroying men for money. The tide started to turn. People who donated to Sarah's GoFundMe demanded refunds. Her new boyfriend disappeared when he realized the police were closing in. The house of cards was falling, but Sarah had one more card to play. She claimed she was pregnant with Tom's baby. Tom's face went ashen. We were standing in my apartment when she dropped that bomb via text message. The timing was too perfect, right when everything was falling apart for her. She can't be pregnant, Tom said, his hands trembling. We haven't, not in months. She's been sleeping in the guest room since January. I grabbed his phone and read the message again. Sarah had sent a photo of a positive pregnancy test along with ultrasound images, but something looked off about the ultrasound. The date stamp was blurry, and the clinic name was partially cut off. These could be from anywhere, I said. Remember what Catherine told us about her previous victims? Tom nodded slowly. She claimed pregnancy with the second husband too. Turned out she'd bought fake tests online. We needed proof she was lying, but the restraining order complicated everything. Then I remembered something. My friend worked at the medical imaging center downtown. Not the clinic Sarah claimed to have visited, but they might recognize if these ultrasounds were legitimate. I texted him the images without mentioning names. 20 minutes later, he called back. Jake, where did you get these? They're stock photos from a medical website. I use the same site for training presentations. Armed with this information, Tom forwarded everything to his lawyer, but Sarah was already mobilizing her next attack. She updated her GoFundMe with the pregnancy announcement, claiming she needed prenatal care because her abusive ex had cut off her health insurance. The donations poured in faster than ever. People who'd been skeptical before were now fully on her side. A pregnant woman fleeing abuse? The sympathy was overwhelming. That evening, Tom's lawyer called with bad news. The prosecution wants to drop the theft charges. Her lawyer claims she's too traumatized and pregnant to stand trial. They're buying it. I slammed my fist on the table. Sarah was going to walk away from everything. Again. But Catherine wasn't done helping us. She called me the next morning, breathless. Jake, I just remembered something. Sarah had her tubes tied 3 years ago. I drove her to the procedure. She said she never wanted kids because they'd ruin her figure. Do you have any proof? I might. Let me check my old phone. I think I have texts from that day. While Catherine searched for evidence, Sarah escalated again. She showed up at Tom's motel, violating the restraining order, but claiming she needed to discuss the baby. The motel manager called the police, but by the time they arrived, Sarah had given herself a bloody nose and was crying about Tom attacking her. Only the security footage saved Tom from arrest. It clearly showed Sarah hitting herself with her car door before entering the motel. The police finally started taking our claims seriously. That afternoon, Catherine found the texts. Screenshots of Sarah joking about being permanently child-free and celebrating her sterilization. She'd even posted about it on a child-free forum, bragging about convincing her then-husband to pay for the procedure. We compiled everything. The fake ultrasounds, the medical records Catherine found, the forum posts. Tom's lawyer presented it all to the prosecutor. Finally, they agreed to investigate Sarah properly, but Sarah must have sensed the walls closing in. That night, she did something desperate. She broke into Tom's motel room while he was at my apartment. The manager found her there, stuffing his belongings into garbage bags. When the police arrived, she claimed she was retrieving her own property, but the motel's detailed security footage showed her breaking the window and climbing in. They arrested her for breaking and entering, violating the restraining order, and attempted theft. At the police station, Sarah's story kept changing. First, she was getting baby clothes she'd left behind. Then she was retrieving important documents. Finally, she claimed Tom had invited her over. The detective interviewing her was the same one who'd responded to her previous false reports. He wasn't buying any of it. While Sarah sat in jail awaiting her bail hearing, we got another break. Her boyfriend, the one from the print shop, got picked up for a parole violation. Facing serious time, he flipped immediately. He told police everything. How Sarah had paid him to create the fake documents. How she'd been planning this for over a year. How she'd done the same thing to 3 other men. The prosecutor added fraud charges to Sarah's growing list. Her bail was set high, and with her assets frozen due to the investigation, she couldn't pay it. For the first time in months, Tom could breathe. We used the time to build our case. The forensic accountant Tom hired found even more hidden credit cards, more forged documents, more evidence of Sarah's systematic destruction of Tom's finances. The total she'd stolen was closer to $300,000. Catherine became our star witness. She provided years of text messages, emails, and social media posts documenting Sarah's pattern of behavior. She even had recordings of Sarah laughing about her schemes, planning her next moves, celebrating her victories over her victims. The other ex-husbands started coming forward too. One had been too ashamed to speak up before. Another had been threatened into silence. The third had moved across the country to escape the memories. But seeing Sarah finally facing consequences gave them courage. The trial date was set. Sarah's public defender tried to negotiate a plea deal, but the prosecutor wasn't interested. They had too much evidence, too many victims, too clear a pattern of deliberate fraud. Sarah tried one last manipulation. She posted from jail, claiming she'd miscarried due to the stress of being falsely imprisoned. The post went viral before authorities realized she'd smuggled a phone into her cell. But by then, the truth about her sterilization was public record. Even her most ardent supporters couldn't ignore the evidence. The trial was swift. Sarah took the stand and tried her usual tears and manipulation, but the jury saw through it. The evidence was overwhelming. The fake pregnancy tests she'd ordered online, the forged documents with her fingerprints, the testimony from 4 ex-husbands, all telling the same story. When the verdict came back guilty on all counts, Sarah finally dropped her mask completely. She screamed at the jury, at the judge, at Tom and me. She promised revenge, swore she'd destroy us all. The bailiffs had to drag her out. The sentencing was scheduled for 6 weeks later. During that time, we focused on rebuilding. Tom's business partners, seeing the truth, welcomed him back. They'd kept his position open, hoping the situation would resolve. Marcus personally apologized for doubting him. I finally retrieved Mom's ring from the pawn shop. The re-engraving Sarah had done was shallow, superficial. A good jeweler was able to restore most of Dad's original inscription. It wasn't perfect, but it was still Mom's ring. Tom moved back into his house. We spent a weekend cleaning out all traces of Sarah. Her closets are full of designer clothes and shoes. Her jewelry boxes were packed with items she'd bought with stolen money. We donated everything to a women's shelter, turning her greed into something good. The sentencing day arrived. The judge had received letters from all of Sarah's victims, detailing the financial and emotional destruction she'd caused. Tom and I sat in the courtroom as the judge read the sentence. 15 years for fraud, identity theft, and extortion, plus restitution to all her victims. Sarah tried to speak, to make one last plea for sympathy, but the judge cut her off. He'd seen through her act just like everyone else finally had. As they led her away in handcuffs, Sarah locked eyes with me one last time. The hatred there was pure, undiluted, but underneath it, I saw something else. Fear. For the first time in her life, Sarah was facing real consequences. Outside the courthouse, Tom and I stood in the sunshine. He looked older, worn down by the ordeal, but there was peace in his eyes that hadn't been there in years. "I'm sorry," he said again, "for not believing you, for choosing her over family, for everything." I pulled out Mom's ring, now on a chain around my neck. Mom always said love lasts forever. She was right. Family love does. We drove to the cemetery together. Tom had bought fresh flowers, yellow roses, Mom's favorite. We sat by her headstone and told her everything. How we'd fought for justice, how we'd protected each other, how we'd honored her memory by not giving up. The sun was setting when we finally stood to leave. Tom pulled out something from his pocket, Mom's cookbook, the one Sarah had taunted us with. He'd found it hidden in the house, along with other family items Sarah had claimed to treasure. I thought we could cook her pot roast recipe tonight, Tom said. Together, like we used to. We went back to my apartment and spent the evening in the kitchen. Tom read Mom's handwritten notes aloud while I followed her instructions. The apartment filled with familiar smells, bringing back memories of Sunday dinners and family gatherings. As we sat down to eat, Tom's phone buzzed. A text from his lawyer. Sarah's assets had been liquidated, and the restitution payments would start soon. It wouldn't cover everything she'd stolen, but it was something.